From the agave fields of Jalisco, Billy's Tequila. Perfect in a margarita or straight over ice. Celebrate the race of life with Billy's. Use code RACER for 5% off at billystequila.com. Please enjoy responsibly.
My Place Hotels is your perfect racing pit stop. Gear up for comfort and take the checkered flag on savings. Book today and enter promo code Frontstretch for 10% off your stay.
The tea was spilled, I'm wondering why I caught strays in this at all. The Gabehard lawsuit in my mentions, I act like I ain't saw. And even if I won't say it's made me great, got Chris's picture on my wall. It reminds me that I'm not so bad, I'm not that bad. I show up to Bristol this past Sunday, I feel that it's my day. I'm leading and even with cautions late, I go to work again. And even with two champs hot on my tail, I win it anyway. And then I tell you that I'm not so bad, I'm not so bad. And I just want to thank you for giving me the best win of my life. And oh, your lawsuit comments fuel me to the best day of my life.
There you have it, another banger from Puke Combs. And if you think, oh, that is not Brian Nolan, you are correct. My name is Trey Lyle, the fill-in host for this happy hour shindig here. We also have another fill-in. Chris Graham is filling in for Dalton Hopkins, but of course Puke Combs as well. Fellas, I guess we got to get right to it. I mean, I hope you're doing well, but there's a reason this man's here. And unfortunately, this is the first time he's seen me since it's happened, because I wasn't in the office on Monday. Didn't see him today because he was doing sales. Ed Lane at Fastlane Ed Lane, the biggest Ty Gibbs fan that we know. Ed, I feel like we should just let you have your moment. Like, just walk us through Sunday, the victory lap you've had since then. Just walk us through those subtle moments, and then are you going to name one of your kids, change their name to Ty? Like, that's the second part of this.
You know, those are valid questions, Trey. So Sunday we were out, my dad, my kids, and I, fishing, family time together. And then we get back in the car and it's late race. And of course my phone's blowing up and I'm being a responsible dad trying to break up fights, make sure that our kids are on the right track, make sure we're not acting like Ty Gibbs at the end of a race at Richmond or Martinsville and getting into altercations, instigating fights. And of course, my dad's trying to figure out why I'm so distracted from doing my parental duty. And I have to confess, it was because my attention was elsewhere. Ty Gibbs, after the irony of ironies with that caution, where the former driver of his car, different number, but still former driver, wrecks the other. I want to beep it out because they're not a sponsor of ours, but maybe it would go well with Billy's Tequila, Monster Energy, the other Monster Energy driver. And I'm thinking this is what it's going to take. And this is going to be the latest example of Ty Gibbs not getting a victory. And alas, he showed the fortitude, the toughness, the championship medal. Granted, it's in the O'Reilly series, but the medal of a champion to get a victory. And then I had to go on my unbearable tour with everybody at frontstretch.com. And if Stephen Malassi, one of my favorite guests and most humorous of all time, was on Twitter, I could have found his account. He would have been added for the 500 times I seem to be tweeting stuff Sunday evening and into Monday morning in celebration.
And it's at Driver Malaz, by the way.
No, don't tell him, Trey. I was sparing
No, I want it. I want this feud to happen. That's what we needed to bring on, just to have those two just go at it. Just to see. If you don't know, in case you missed it, Stephen Malazzi, before this season came on for Nation Happy Hour, basically just like said Ty Gibbs is never going to win, and so on and so forth. It was a pretty great rant. Someone who may or may not knows Ed Lane like I do, he was ready to fire back. I
got my Coach Prime on. I was keeping receipts as soon as I could cash those in. It was happening.
Well, if it's anything like Coach Prime's track record, then it's downhill from here because he only had like one good season. So maybe not good for Ty Gibbs.
Don't say that.
But it does. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the trash talk started early in the weekend for Ed. He was talking trash to me on Friday. That's why I did that song just for you, Ed.
I knew when you started stringing the guitar, and I didn't get any Eminem, Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, whatever name you want. I didn't even get the joy of hearing his tones. I just got the whiny Dido part. But whatever, if it motivated him to get to victory lane, if that's what it takes, then as Ty Gibbs' life coach, self-proclaimed, of course, then we will take the motivation where we can find it.
So, to talk a serious part of Ty, and Chris, I'll let you go first on this one. This is jokingly the culmination of Ed's fanhood with Ty Gibbs, and this moment coming together. Brian Nolan was too scared to show up today.
What is exactly why is Nolan not there?
Well, Dalton has an excuse, basically because of the U.S. government. We'll just phrase it that way. Yeah. Dalton has a reasonable excuse. Brian Nolan just decided not to. Brian's a scaredy cat.
Brian said, well, I gotta go to Long Beach this week, and I got all these yards to mow, so I gotta start at 6:30 this morning.
Wow.
Guess what? As of 9:30 this morning, he still wasn't mowing lawns. So he could have knocked it out and got here, but he doesn't love it. He just doesn't love us.
He's scared of you, Ed. Ed, he's scared of you. He's not dedicated and he's scared of you. But Chris, I will ask you this. This is, by the way, this is the face of the producer for. He's like my number two on the podcast manager. Chris is my number two in the podcast department. It's just us. Basically, it's just us two in terms of the technical side, adding Caleb in there for a little bit. But Chris, this feels like a culmination of this season for Ty Gibbs, getting this win at Bristol, where arguably the closest chance he had for a win came, which ironically would have been way better for Ed because Michael Massey and I were at the track that day, but we weren't. We couldn't do it this weekend, but it was the culmination of everything coming together of this season, considering the Gabe Hart thing and what he had to do at the end, which I feel it's starting to feel like every first win has to be like the hardest, on the hardest possible difficulty at the very end. Like Harrison Burton had to pass Kyle Busch on the last lap. You look at Ty Gibbs having to pass both hold off Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson, who had probably the two best cars that day. But what do you think ultimately of this performance from Ty Gibbs and the performance all season?
Honestly, I'm going to say this as not just a culmination of the season, but a culmination of years of just crap that he has had to put up with, because he is a Nepo baby, and there is no other way to say it. So the fact that he was able to turn around and take all of that negativity over years and years of racing, and that became amplified in losing his father, his mother being forced to take on a significantly larger role within the race team. I don't know that it's quite the same level as Dale Jr. having to step into senior shoes, but I think there are some comparisons to be made there with the level of commitment that should have been expected out of Ty Gibbs when his dad passed and he didn't deliver. And it took this lawsuit kicking him in the you-know-what to get him back on the right track. And now I think it's now kind of a put up or shut up. Anybody can win one. When's number 2?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ed.
Good.
Or Bessie.
Texas.
Whoever.
Thanks.
Your favorite track. Oh, more context. Ed's least favorite track is Texas Motor Speedway.
By far. It is a culmination, though. I like the way you phrased it, Chris. Unlike all these negative Nancys out there that are sitting there not believing that there's legitimacy to any of this. It's funny because the Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans will bristle at it. I don't think Dale Jr. was nearly as vilified as Ty Gibbs. Granted, he didn't do a lot of immature things to inflict that upon himself. So, let's gloss over some minor details. But the pressure's clearly been there for him for a while. But I don't put this in the Derek Cope Daytona 500 category of fluke victories or even some of the others. I saw, again, there's a lot of great work at Frontstretch.com, but somebody made the comparison to Austin Dillon. The difference is Austin Dillon did not have a run of, 6 straight top 6s leading up to this race. And I don't know if he's ever had that type of run, whereas Ty Gibbs has had that type of run this year. He's looked focused on all different types of tracks this year. Doesn't look like this is a fluke. Doesn't mean that he's going to win the championship, although a 40-1 ticket now might be in my possession for him to win the championship. But it means there's a potential there because it looks like this is more consistent than just a flash in the pan.
Yeah, he's fourth in points. You mentioned that, Ed. He has 49 stage points, which shows he's been at least competing up front all season long. I do think part of this is one, I think people, kind of undervalued the loss of Coy in his life and, that influence who's always being there. And then he had to get thrust into his full-time Cup season. And who was he replacing? Oh, just, one of the probably 10 greatest drivers of all time and one of the greatest pairings in the history of the sport. Kyle Busch and Joe Gibbs Racing when Kyle Busch was with JGR. And obviously he wasn't in the 18. It wasn't the M&M's car. It wasn't the same thing. They changed the number and everything. But you're replacing Kyle Busch, man. It's for any driver, that's a tough hill to climb, let alone be a rookie and have all this outside pressure of having, the last name like Gibbs, which is just a, big name in sports, let alone a big name in NASCAR. It felt like you could sense the relief for him when he got through, and it does feel like for him. And maybe he won, ironically, the downside of winning way so early, like he did the Xfinity Series, which was his second race ever. People thought, he's just going to go to first race. You're right. Everyone thought he was going to win this quickly in Cup, but typically we've seen Chase Elliott, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, it takes that 100 race mark for whatever reason to get your first win, and then you break out a couple. Massey, I don't think this is the last time. To Chris's point, wins the second. I feel pretty confident saying Ty Gibbs is going to be in victory lane pretty soon. I wouldn't even be shocked this weekend in Kansas.
Oh yeah, he's going to rattle off wins now. It's like we talked about here on the show a couple weeks ago. Ty Gibbs is running the second best Gibbs car right now. Denny Hamlin, I think, is the best. But Bell and Chase Briscoe, you have not seen up there fighting for wins like you have the other two. And Ty is kind of making himself the number 2 guy there now. And I will say it was really cool on Sunday to see his whole family there. With all they've been through, Joe Gibbs, the loss of both sons, Heather Gibbs, the loss of her husband, Ty, the loss of his father, to see all of them really just, it looked like an emotional scene, especially Heather was crying, and it was cool to see her ride in the car. Joe was given a sermon there on pit road. So I couldn't help but be happy for the Gibbs family in that moment with all that they've been through. But
Shout out Cole Pern.
Cole Pern, yeah, that was a little bit of a tease there. But did not realize he was back in the picture. But Ty is going to win more races. I mean, the way the points are looking, he's going to be a championship contender this year if he keeps this run going.
Was it Sieg who came on your podcast last year and said that once Ty Gibbs gets the first victory, it's going to start to be a bunch of them that get rattled off, and all of a sudden it'll show that he's clicking?
Who said it?
I think it was Sieg. Is that who y'all had on last year? It was about a year ago last summer. Ryan Sieg or Kyle Sieg, I think.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. Ryan Sieg would say that about Ty Gibbs. Last time I saw Ryan Sieg and Ty Gibbs get involved in a racetrack, it resulted in Ryan Sieg wrecking himself. I don't know if that would be the two. But it's always
Isn't there something to be said, though, that the adage is the first win, you get your first, the next come in bunches? That's not the case anymore in the Cup Series. That might be in the lower series,
so tight,
but it's not in Cup.
Yeah, honestly, it just depends on the driver.
I was just going to say, you look at the all-time wins list, and like there's a lot of guys that have one win. A lot of guys that have one win. That list shrinks significantly when you get to two. But that being
even
said,
more when you get to three.
Yeah, even way more when you get to three. But Ty's going to win again. He's running too well to not win again. But does he need to win more? One win in 4 years. I still think he needs to step it up and win some more to justify it. But I think he's capable of doing it.
Well,
I don't dispute that.
Go ahead, Ed. Any final thoughts? Sorry, Ed. I was going to say, any final thoughts on this Ty Gibbs moment? The floor is yours.
I don't think there's a surprise. The talent's been there for a while. You knew they would give him everything that he needed to try to get to victory lane. I would say the one thing that, we've joked about this, but the lawsuit and exposing things, whether he denies them or not, it seems like it forced a level of focus that has been there and necessary, because most of the best drivers in Cup have a level of focus and an ability to block out distractions. And we had not seen that from Ty Gibbs. And it looks like now he's starting to figure out that that's one of the big things you have to turn the corner at such a high level where, let's face it, I mean, there's a good 15 to 20 drivers that are elite enough, that are close enough in talent and skill level that those little things actually do make a difference. Whereas in the Xfinity Series, the gap from even 1 to 10 is pretty pronounced.
Speaking of pronouncements, some fans were talking about going back to a race at Bristol that was a lot of fun. Michael Massey and I were there for one instance of this. Massey, the race this weekend had some mixed reviews, to say the least, as I pull up the Jeff Gluck poll. What are your thoughts on this kind of tire debate when it comes to... by the way, 67% said yes. I just want to throw that in there for the Good Race Bowl. But your thoughts on the tire this weekend at Bristol?
I should have prepared better, but I have a stack of bricks outside. I should have gone out and grabbed 4 of them and held them up right here, because that's what Goodyear brought this week, was 4 bricks to put on the car that didn't wear it all. So it's crazy to me that you think, like, people love those 2 races with the high tire wear. I get it. It was a little too excessive. So they had to counter that. But when you saw the forecast coming into Sunday, you saw it was going to be warm, and these tires don't wear when it's warm. You should have brought it should have been 2 sets of tires. I don't know if that's possible, but 2 different types of tires there for depending on the weather. Still, it wasn't a terrible race. I didn't think. I don't know, maybe you guys disagree with me, but what do you guys think about what Goodyear brought, how it impacted the day and whatnot? Ed, we could start with you, unless Chris, you got something fired up.
I have something kind of queued up here, because my thought process on this is Goodyear is in a really bad spot. Every tire supplier to a racing series is. Because the ultimate thing you can bring to a racetrack as a tire supplier is a tire that lasts the entire race. We make the most durable tires on the market, and that's what you buy when you buy Goodyears. Except it makes for dog crap racing. So you have to find that alternate middle ground of performance, durability, and all those things that Goodyear's trying to sell. If they're blowing tires out every 13 laps, hello, Indianapolis, we see you there. I don't see how that's a win for Goodyear. So I think they're kind of right where they need to be, as much as it sucks as a fan, because I don't want the PJ1 on the racetrack. I want them to be single file around Bristol, bump and run, move them out of the way, and let's have fun with the old Bristol. But I'm encouraged to hear that 2/3 of the fan like that side-by-side racing, because we railed on that for how many years?
You can go ahead, Ed.
Just 2/3 thought it was a good race. Ty Gibbs won. Should be 99%. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is preposterous. Jokes on that aside, though, I would brush back to an extent, Chris. We don't need tires blowing every 13 laps like a decade and change ago at Indianapolis, but there's got to be some level of tire wear. And I understand the whole Goodyear perception thing, but I mean, look, are people smart enough to realize that the tires you buy to put on your car are going to last longer than 13 laps or even 500 laps or 500 miles? I mean, if I'm paying what I pay for tires, 2 to 3 bills for them, then I'm smart enough to realize they should last that long. I have an ability to differentiate between the tires I watch at the racetrack reflecting on the tires that I put on my car. And I want the tires at the racetrack to deliver a good quality product. And I will not hold it against the manufacturer and their ability to have tires that fit my car, because they're two entirely different things.
Yeah, I think you also have to factor in, like, what actually caused the tires to go berserker is not the tire. It was the weather, where it was unusually cold, which, shocker, that happens in Virginia, as 3 of the 4 people in this is from the state of Virginia. Well, that's technically Tennessee, my bad, but close enough. Yeah. So, like, the weather caused...
Words hard, good, Trey.
Yeah, I know. Well, technically, I mean, I'm not the worst. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that part. I'm not getting in trouble. Anyways, Tennessee is close enough. But there is a Bristol, Virginia. Anyways, my point being, you weren't gonna get that with the weather conditions. So I think it provided good enough. Tires did matter. Like if you look at the tires, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson on better tires got quickly to Ty Gibbs. And I think if Blaney doesn't make the mistake late in the race like he did, which lost just enough ground to Ty Gibbs, where he needed probably 2 more laps to pass him, tires did matter in this race. Not to maybe you need to go to like a little bit more. But ultimately, I'd rather have this style of racing than every 40 laps you're blowing a tire, and that's what we had. Like, people forget, Goodyear was doing a press conference mid-race, that race that everyone wants to brag about, because they thought this was an issue. Like, Massey and I were there. Alex Gintz almost got in a fight with a Goodyear tech because they thought it was a problem. They didn't think this was good. And luckily, the teams figured it out, and you had three most experienced drivers. I think the top 3 was Hamlin, Truex, and Keselowski, ultimately. So while the chaos and everything is great, I think this race was better because it was more natural in the racing, and it still had the tire elements that you want. Where it mattered, maybe needs to matter a little bit more. But ultimately, let's be real here. We're going to talk about at the very end, like, the late race caution doesn't happen. I think Ryan Blaney gets to Ty Gibbs. But I think ultimately, while Ty Gibbs did a really good job of keeping them off, I think he did, and to his credit, and he was also up front all day, Ryan Blaney did run out of laps. If there was like 5 laps left, Ryan Blaney on the better tires would have passed him. So the tires did matter in this race. It's just sometimes cautions fall in specific spots. You make one mistake like Ryan Blaney did, it cost him the race.
We saw Shane Van Gisbergen spin. We saw Christopher Bell have issues. We saw guys have issues that I would say are classically old tire type issues. And that's kind of what you're asking for when you're looking, what do we want Goodyear to bring? A tire that's going to fall off enough that you have to change them frequently, but not so much that you're, blowing them up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a good race. I agree with that comment that showed a second ago that it was the best next gen outside of the 2 tire debacle races. It was the best next gen Bristol race. But if Ryan Blaney's pit crew wasn't the 4 of us changing his tires, then he would have stomped the field. He would have probably led like all 500 laps if he started on the pole and had a competent pit. He did start on the pole, but had a competent pit crew.
Competent pit crew.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we would have been looking at this thing very badly because people looked at it badly when Kyle Larson went and stomped the field at Bristol, and this race could have been that way. I don't know. I get, like, I see what you guys are saying. The tires, there definitely was a little bit of gamesmanship to it, and there were accidents caused by old tires, like you said. But I'd like to see more aggressiveness from Goodyear. That's all I want. It's just a little more, especially like if you can look out days ahead and see the forecast and see that it's going to be warmer. Let's bring a little softer tire.
But you're talking about tires that have to be made months and months in advance. They tried this when F1 had the tire issues at Indy. And it was one of those deals where, like, hey, we can bring new tires in, sort of. Like, it's not a quick change thing. Now, to your point of maybe multiple compounds might be an answer. I think that if you gave the teams a hard and a soft, now we're really playing with fire, and the crew chiefs are really neck deep in making those calls.
I love that point, Chris, because you're putting it back into the crew chiefs. You have variants. You're automatically introducing different strategies, and the teams may waffle or flip back and forth from one tire to the next, determining that one works well or making adjustments. But that level of a chess match that's going on during the race, sometimes you can see it play out, but it's also the type of storyline that makes it intriguing to follow, whether you're watching on TV or listening on the radio/streaming platform.
But you just know
we have a fight going on in the background.
Yeah.
Are they upset about that?
And there's a fight
in the background.
But if we had 2 different tire options, Ryan Blaney's pit crew would put like 3 softs and 1 hard on his car or something like that.
And Austin Dillon would wreck Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin for the win.
But yeah, that was the thing when we had that.
Ironically, another race Michael Massey and I were at. Sorry to interrupt.
Chaos always happens. The chaos happens when we're there, except for this past Martinsville.
Yes.
I don't get it. When Phoenix and Richmond, when they tried that out, it was fun. Race. I don't even remember what happened in that Xfinity race.
Lee Pullman missing a shift. We're just getting off topic.
A big one.
Yeah.
Poor Lee.
Anyways, sorry, I just keep interrupting that. He should punch me.
It's Trey's favorite pastime. But we had the option tires for Phoenix and Richmond. And I thought it was kind of fun, and I thought maybe we should try it. Yeah, maybe like 1 race a year we should do something like that. But I don't think that's not the case anymore. So I don't know. Should we try that again, guys? You guys sound like you're positive on the option tire. So
I mean, I love it. I even whether it's weather permitting or not, it adds a level of variance, and you have a level of variance. You put more of an onus on the crew chiefs and the crews, and there's still a level of adjusting and adapting on the fly, which is going to make for an interesting level of strategy. Again, I don't think it was a terrible race. They were side-by-side racing, but you can find ways to tweak. If it's an elite race, then don't tweak it and make it better. But if it was kind of a C+-ish, B- race from an entertainment standpoint, in that situation, be tweaking to try to get this thing better and better.
I will say I am all for the multiple compounds thing. My only concern is from my background in the super late model world, where you have the same compound of tire. It should be, in theory, identical tires, and teams are throwing fits and getting into fights at the tire line because they want a certain date code on the tire. The tires made on this date were good. The ones made the next day were junk. I don't think Goodyear wants to get in the middle of that. And I think that's part of the reason we don't see the two compounds. But it also doesn't have to be a big swing. IndyCar runs a hard and a soft. But there's a gradient there of what that swing is, whether it's big swing from hard to soft, or maybe it's a little bit narrower of one where the hard tire is actually the better tire to have, even on a shorter stint.
Speaking of super late model races, Chris, I just loved you teed up that perfect transition for me. There was some cars. You like that? Shout out to Kirk Cousins. Maybe he's a NASCAR fan. Maybe he's a Frontstretch fan. Who knows? But there was a big Cars Tour event at the Nashville Fairgrounds this weekend, including Dale Earnhardt Jr. was involved. Chris, it leads to a conversation after maybe not the most exciting attendance and TV numbers that maybe are not what you want. Could there be changes to the spring Bristol race?
I am going to say I love the Nashville Fairgrounds. It is one of the 2 or 3 favorite places I have ever had the pleasure and honor of producing a race at. And I use those 2 words meaningfully. Nashville Fairgrounds is incredible. It is not ready to host a cup race. And you can dump $20 million into that place, and the track itself might get ready. But that local infrastructure will not ever be ready. I don't know how long it's been since you guys have been to the fairgrounds. It's on a side road of a side road. You run up the hill, you get to the soccer stadium, but there is not parking for 40 or 50,000 people like you're going to need to bring to a cup race. Look at what they did to Wilkesboro. They put in a ton of temporary seating when they first took the All-Star race there. They're considering making some of those permanent seats, but you don't have the parking for it. You don't have the accessibility. All the things that go into hosting a NASCAR Cup Series race just aren't there. And it kills me that I'm disagreeing with Dale Jr. and the guys for the SMI and everything else. I think it is perfect to host an O'Reilly truck doubleheader. I think it's perfect to throw the ARCA guys in there. Hell, even throw a Cars Tour race on the same weekend. We're going to double dip. We're going to run Cars Tour Thursday, ARCA and Trucks Friday, or ARCA Friday and double dip Saturday, and really make it a weekend. But running the Cup Series there, I think, is really a dangerous proposal because just the infrastructure isn't there to accommodate that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, and I'm maybe the antithesis or the devil's advocate on this one, but there's a whole lot of people that are going to tell me I'm an idiot in the comments. That's for sure.
Well, we're all idiots, so let's just get that out of the way right now. I think, look, I agree with you and I disagree with you at the same time. I think that having that race, having that track, Fairgrounds, replace Bristol as the spring date is a bad decision because, well, first off, let me pump the brakes on taking a race from Bristol because it still had like 70,000 people there, which would sell out a majority of the tracks on the NASCAR schedule. But it's just because they have over 100,000 seats that it looks so empty. Like, no, you're not getting outside of the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500. You're not getting 100,000 fans at any race these days, in America, at least. I guess the F1 races as well, but before somebody comes in and corrects me on that. But so I think expecting a sellout there is unrealistic. The night race does better attendance, but it's the bigger date, so it should have a bigger crowd. And also, Jeff Gluck pointed out that at one point in his poll, Bristol had the top 3 races. Next Gen has kind of ruined that. but eventually we will get to a point where Bristol is great again, where there's a car, tire, whatever that matches up, because it is an awesome track. And Bristol, it's one of the few tracks I feel like still deserves 2 dates. So pump the brakes on Fairgrounds replacing Bristol. I think that, the Fairgrounds, if something were to happen there cup-wise, it would need to be the Clash or the All-Star race or something, which that could be a fun setup. Do like the All-Star race, and then the next week have like a Nashville Speed Weeks. Have the Super Speedway the following week, and maybe have like O'Reilly and Trucks run both of them. Save those guys some travel and whatnot. But so I think it could handle like a non-points cup race, since we see Bowman Gray and we've seen so far North Wilkesboro be able to handle that. I agree, Chris. Like, Nashville doesn't have the parking accommodations that those places have, but we could at least try it. Heck, Kentucky got to try a cup date and had an awful traffic situation, so why not let another fairground? The Nashville Super Speedway, the first cup race there was awful traffic, because you had one guy stopping everybody, checking to see if they had this pass or whatever. So we're kind of used to that kind of area of the country. We're going to have some parking situations, but I'm down to try it for like an exhibition race, but I don't think it should be a points race just yet. Ed, Trey, what are you guys thinking on this?
Go ahead, Ed.
I would love to see it for tracks that don't have the infrastructure for a cup date. What's wrong with putting more of those in Xfinity and truck double headers? No, you were at Rockingham, Massey. I've been there before. That's another example of it's great for the Xfinity and the Truck Series, and they're well supported, they're well attended relative to those series. You could start adding other tracks where you could either have it accompanying a cup date, where it's a cup date, and then nearby you got the Xfinity and Truck. So if cup drivers want to double dip, they have easy accessibility. I mean, let's keep it real. These guys are on private jets and helicopters, not dealing with regular traffic and airport issues like the 99% of us are. So they've got the access to that. But you're also cultivating something unique and special about those other series. Because, I mean, infrastructure-wise, you see a place. I went to school in Memphis, and so been through Nashville, been by the fairgrounds, been to races at Nashville Super Speedway, and there's got to be a level for ingress and egress to accommodate just the volume of fans that are going to come in, park, bring in all the other people that are around there. And if you're not equipped to handle that, it creates not just a chaotic traffic situation, but it frankly reflects poorly on the sport. And it goes against the intended wish, which is trying to get the sport exposed to more people in a positive light. If their only experience is it clogs up the streets, they don't plan for this very well, you're going to have a tougher time selling them on this being an organized unit that's worth your time and investment in an entertainment dollar.
Yeah, there's a whole political, governmental aspect to how if Nashville is going to survive as a racetrack, which we don't need to get into. I am open to the idea of Bristol going down to one race because it could make the Bristol night race, which is already a special race, even more of a special race. I'm always open to the idea of like every track but Daytona gets one race a year. I'm very open to that idea. I don't know if Nashville Fairgrounds is the choice, however, to replace it. I truly don't, because of what Chris said. I've never been there. I've seen I've seen clips from there. I've never actually even truly watched a race from the Nashville Fairgrounds because I don't have
so good.
flow.
So good.
So I've never actually seen. So I'm like probably the least qualified to talk about it here out of us four. But I am open to the idea just because, yes, the TV viewership is down, and clearly, like, I think the fact they were willing to make a dirt race for the spring race just like devalued it for me enough where I'd rather see insert another SMI track during this week and go to Kentucky again. Maybe that will look cool in the mile and a half. Go to what was that
Give
for?
Dover a points race.
Dover. Go back to Dover. That was another place. Like, Dover is getting kind of even worse treatment than Bristol. Like, honestly, I'd be okay with making Bristol the All-Star race. Like, it was a good All-Star race. And making Dover the points race. And because I thought we had a really good All-Star race when it was at Bristol. And they got creative with it. And I think Bristol's a kind of an ideal track for an All-Star race. So I would be open to that as well. But to our final topic, we had some hostility. The last Great Coliseum, we did have some hostility. Kyle Busch got some revenge on Riley Herbst late in this race, causing Ed Lane to have an ulcer as his nerves skyrocketed through the roof. Michael Massey, I will ask you this question. Obviously, Kyle Busch has had a very frustrating season, but and the incident with Herbst, whether you could say it was intentional or unintentional by Herbst, Kyle Busch clearly was intentional. Did you like the timing of the payback, considering it was not like he paid him back instantly? It was, and obviously it takes time to get back to a point where you could pay him back, but it was also so very late in the race that it truly could have affected, it kind of affected the outcome, because it felt like if it stayed green, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan Blaney gets past Ty Gibbs, whereas Ty Gibbs kind of, because he was on the outside, was able to kind of create enough distance where he won the race.
Yeah, there's the people that think that Kyle, obviously it was retaliation. I don't care what he says or anything. It looked pretty intentional to me.
It was on the front stretch or the straightaway. It wasn't in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle Busch, despite how bad his year's been, he hasn't lost the ability to go straight on a straightaway and just veer right. But I think there's a section of people that think that he did that to also screw Ty Gibbs, and I think I agree with you. I think it actually helped Ty Gibbs more. But Kyle Busch doesn't. He's not paying attention to who's leading the race in that situation. All he saw, he's having a bad day. The guy that sent him spinning earlier, he's finally caught back up to him. And I think that's all it was. That was probably the first time that him and Herbst were on the same straightaway since that incident earlier. And when you see him, you just go, bam. Now, the timing did also work out in that it was so late in the race that NASCAR didn't really have time to look at it and say, maybe we ought to park him for the day, or, park him for 5 laps or whatever, because they're more worried about overtime, like getting the race back going so we don't waste too many laps, the race for the win. But I don't know, we haven't seen any penalty to Kyle so far, so it seems like it was the perfect revenge, and I think that's all there is to it. Ed, what do you think about that whole deal? Did you get to see Kyle send Riley spinning?
If Ty Gibbs doesn't win the race, then it should probably be like a 3-week, 3-race suspension. But because of Ty Gibbs' masterful driving capabilities and skills to hold off Ryan Blaney, who, just to set the record straight, Ryan Blaney would have led 498 laps, not 500, Massey, because Ty Gibbs' masterful driving would have still been enough to get him the victory at the end, showing just how great he is as a talent. Look, I like the idea of revenge. I think there's a level of calculated timing on this that...
Is that what you wanted? Was that the signal to stop Ed from talking?
No, that was the signal of Ed. I was going to say, this is the signal of Ed trying to slime his way into, or circle his way into making it about Ty Gibbs. Like, for example, if I brought up, I had to interview for Andrew Clark, who wrote this book right here, The Immortals of NASCAR. He'd be like, man, Ty Gibbs should be on the cover of that at this point, not Richard Petty, because if Ty Gibbs had to face Richard Petty in their primes, they would beat him.
Oh my. I can't.
Okay, anyways, good job, Ed.
but the timing to get rid of the Ty Gibbs commentary for just a second. The timing of it was actually pretty calculated for Kyle Busch in the sense of, like you said, of what are you going to do this late in the race? And is it the type of incident that's worth suspending anybody for, or is it not? Now, it didn't collect anybody. I think that's probably the most important thing. Anybody of race contention consequences was not involved in it, and it created a finish. And if anything, NASCAR historically is kind of erred on the side of wanting to embrace late race restarts.
Yeah,
Chris?
hey, it wasn't too different. Real quick, it wasn't too different from what Dale Earnhardt, who you got on your shirt there, did to Terry Labonte twice.
The man.
I will throw my 2 cents in on this. I think the only thing that Riley Herbst needs to learn is the timing. Because ultimately what he did, you could do at almost any racetrack at almost any time, at least in terms of short tracks. In the moment, he didn't need to dump Kyle Busch there. Keep it in your back pocket and just say, hey, I got one. And KB knows he's got one coming. So you don't have to exact the revenge right then and there. If anything, that makes you look a little bit more petulant to me. And that's a word I've used to describe Kyle Busch a lot. I kind of think that just sit on it. Just know, man, hey, I got you. You're getting one. Eventually, someday, somewhere, somehow, you're going to get it.
Any final thoughts on this, Massey?
No, the thing is, I think should Kyle have some kind of penalty or whatnot, I kind of go both ways for consistency. Last year we saw Austin Cindric do kind of a similar move. It was more egregious, but it was a hook on Ty Dillon at Coda, and he got a 50-point fine. I wonder if Kyle should get some kind of fine or something for this. But I don't know. There's part of me that wants consistency. There's one part of me that wants it to be like, boys, have at it. Somewhere in the middle there is the right answer. So I don't know. I'll leave that in NASCAR's hands, I guess, if they want to penalize him or not. But if somebody else does something similar this week and they don't penalize Kyle, that person better not get penalized either. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, a man who we're never tired of. Maybe his talks about his love for Ty Gibbs we get tired of, but we actually never get tired of him. At Fastlane Ed Lane. Ed, if you are a fan of Ed's work, check out the Fastlane with Ed Lane on the VTR in Sports Facebook page. You can check out the Fastlane with Ed Lane on YouTube. His Twitter is at Fastlane Ed Lane. There's also a great show on that radio station in the morning called The Morning Warm Up with Trey Lyle. You should also.
We'll cut his mic now too.
But
Yeah,
but Ed, any final thoughts? Anything else I missed that you want to plug before we get on out of here?
The Ty Gibbs commentary aside, I just think it's exciting because it vaults, it adds more drivers to the list of drivers that can position themselves to make runs over the course of the season. Nobody doubts Ty Gibbs' teammates Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell based on history. I think all of us expect that at some point things will start clicking for Hendrick outside of Kyle Larson. William Byron's shown enough. Chase Elliott has. I think Alex Bowman's probably in a tough spot to get victories. And certainly 23XI has vaulted themselves into contention, particularly Tyler Reddick, but even Bubba Wallace to an extent. There are more drivers now than there seemed to have been in prior iterations, at least last year, that you would say could contend for a championship in this format.
Well, Ed, we appreciate your time.
Ed, you can hang out with us too. You don't have to leave if you want to pour one out with us.
If you want to, this is when they.
I can always pour one out. I don't have any Billy's tequila. I'd have to, grab the knockoff variety.
Use promo code RACER for 5% off at billystequila.com. But okay, that's fine. I'm following the cues of what y'all have done all year. So I'm just saying. Anyways, let's just hit our ad break from our folks at Billy's Tequila.
From the agave fields of Jalisco, Billy's Tequila. Perfect in a margarita or straight over ice. Celebrate the race of life with Billy's. Use code RACER for 5% off at billystequila.com. Please enjoy responsibly.
My Place Hotels is your perfect racing pit stop. Gear up for comfort and take the checkered flag on savings. Book today and enter promo code Frontstretch for 10% off your stay.
Promo code RACER, billystequila.com for 5% off. Ed, I'll let you go second to last on this. So, Massey, you have yours. You can go first. Who are you pouring one out for?
If Chris has one locked and loaded, I think he does already. He can go before me, but so I'm still mid-pour.
Well, clearly someone is not prepared for this podcast.
I will go here. I'm going to pour one out. It was Masters weekend. I'm wearing my azaleas. I have a cocktail cup. Looks like a golf ball full of vodka and various fun things because I don't have any Billy's tequila yet. Thanks, Trey. I don't either. One out for the cameraman, the photographer, hired by Joe Gibbs Racing to follow Chris Gabehart around all weekend. While Ken Griffey Jr. was photographing the Masters for the second year in a row, you had to follow the CRO of a NASCAR team around. So you could see where he had dinner, you could see what he threw out, you could take pictures of everything that might look remotely like something a judge might want to look at. Your weekend sucked. So I'm going to pour one out for you. Enjoy one today.
Massey, are you ready? Ed, are you? Ed, yeah. If you're Massey, you're not. Ed can go.
I mean,
pour one out for Stephen Malazzi. Is that what you're about to do?
Exactly. I poured one out for Stephen Malazzi. I pour one out for all those haters out there that said this day would never come. Now you have to deal with somebody who's happier than the bartender in the Billy's Tequila ad and the people checking into the My Place hotels because Ty Gibbs finally got a victory. Now, I will say this. The question is, does he have the maturity to handle this level of success and back it up? That's the next step in the question, because if he can do that and go on this type of run that he's capable of, then at that point, he can vault himself from just a good one-time race winner into somebody who backs up the consistency he showed before this race with the ability to now be a contender well after.
I just had the worst drop the mic moment. Try to drop the mic with my water bottle, and it hit my microphone, so I'm sorry about that, folks. Massey, you're up, because I have a perfect one to end on.
Okay, I'm going to pour one out for Frankie Muniz, because Malcolm in the Middle is back, and I loved that show when I was a kid. Used to watch it just about every Sunday, and it's cool to see that, they thought so much of this Craftsman Truck Series driver that they're like, hey, let's give this guy a TV show. So cool to see that the truck looked awesome. It's a shame that it got torn up. There was a little feud there in that whole deal. There's a whole video of it. You should watch Frankie's Care Center interview on the Frontstretch YouTube page. But thank you for helping me relive my childhood a little bit with new Malcolm episodes. Frankie, this is for you.
Mine goes to the boss, Tom Bowles, because, of course, every time I watch the Masters, I remember of the epic collapse by Tom Bowles in the first edition of Frontstretch Jeopardy, where he thought the Masters took place in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, even though I clearly framed the question as Augusta, Georgia. So, to Tom Bowles for not knowing where the Masters is. Cheers.
That's so cool that Dale Jr. used to race right down the road from the Masters.
I know, right? Mike Neff lives where the Masters happens every year.
He's got a house on the property.
National, I think Mike Neff.
Exactly. Well, that will do it for us. I'm back tomorrow, this comes out Tuesday, so Wednesday night, we'll be bringing the heat with Trey Lyle. Massey and I have an interview with Taylor Gray. He talks about how Ty Gibbs is technically his owner, so Ty Gibbs gets mentioned there just for Ed Lane. Chris will help me with that. You might overhear his voice interjecting here and there.
Allegedly, with that.
Allegedly, he will. Hopefully, Brian Nolan and Dalton Hopkins will be back next week. Do you have, Massey, a guest lined up yet? Thumbs up, thumbs down? No.
No.
Not yet. We'll work on it. We'll figure something out.
We're working on a guest. Ed will have his show 5 to 6 p.m. If you're not in Lynchburg, Virginia, just download the VTRN Sports app or the Fast Lane with Ed Lane Facebook page or their YouTube page. You can live stream it right there, or the Fast Lane with Ed Lane, wherever you get your podcast. So, for Ed Lane, for Chris Graham, for Michael Massey, I'm Trey Lyle, signing off for now for this edition of Happy Hour.